and then I'll pop out.
Okay.
No.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome.
What episode we're doing today?
Hi, Boga. Say hi, Boga.
Oh, Boga wants to say hello today.
Oh, he's so mellow today. Last time I saw him, he wasn't so mellow.
Yeah.
He's got his ups and down days.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
All right. So how is everybody doing today?
All right, I guess. All right.
Trying to beat the heat.
Oh, it's nice here in San Diego. Oh, it was beautiful here today.
It's only 92, but by Monday it's supposed to be 75. So
We're
looking forward to
We're in the
Monday.
70s. We're in the high 70s
I
right
don't know
now.
what I'm gonna get. It's basically a crapshoot where I live. You never know. So
BRT. Hi, B.
B's in the house. Woo!
How is everybody doing?
Hey, what do you say?
Hey, what do you say?
I was asleep.
I am really gay.
Just today?
No, every day.
Just
Well, every
today,
day.
really gay, though.
Just say really.
Yeah, maybe.
Me.
Okay. Oh, Miss Debbie's in the house.
Debbie's in the house.
There she is. Hey,
Yes.
Debbie, go, Debbie, banana, fana, for Fabby, mean mama, Mabby, Debbie.
yeah, you weren't here when we sang to her.
I know.
Yeah, you weren't. Unfortunately.
I got new Legos, Mel. I should do it live.
Oh, okay.
I won't do it alone.
All right. So if you are here, you guys are here to talk about the most horrific and WTF moments of Coven episodes 10, 11, 12, and 13. The finale.
Yes.
Is the finale already?
13
Well,
is the finale.
The last 4 episodes, I guess.
Yeah.
They're well in there.
So we will start with episode 10, which is titled The Magical Delights of Stevie Nicks. And it is almost your birthday, Tim.
I have it on the calendar.
All right. Did you guys write down who wrote and directed this?
1 second, we will tell you.
I didn't watch.
I'm behind. No, I mean I watched episode 10 like.
Yeah, I've seen them all many times.
No, I watched them yesterday.
Oh, I did too, but I didn't. Yeah, eventually we're gonna get everything
All right.
together.
Well, The Magical Delights of Stevie Nicks, written by James Wong.
James Wong. There you go. Go ahead, James.
Explains a lot.
Yeah.
Look at Di's face. That's not good. That's a screenshot.
Oh Lord, poor Di.
I don't know.
She's
Di,
still breathing.
go out and come back in.
Well, we knew it was written by James Wong.
Anyway,
James Wong.
I'm assuming that Di got frozen there for a second. So we are. Yeah, so it was directed by James Wong, or it was written by James Wong and directed by Alfonso Gomez. Yeah, Alfonso Gomez.
Okay.
Rojan. And yeah, that's where we are.
We'll go ahead and get started. Di will be back in because we've got a lot to get through.
Yeah.
And just so everybody remembers, we reminded you guys this one's probably going to run over just a little bit because of the fact that we had 4 episodes we're going over. And there's quite a few moments in these episodes. So we will get started. We see Marie enter a hospital maternity ward, and she picks up a baby and tells the nurse to open the door. And then she picks up the baby and she walks out with it. Walks out of the hospital with it. There's police or security guards. You see the sirens and everything. Then the men are there outside. And she tells them she needs this baby. And they keep telling her, ma'am, put the baby down, put the baby down. And she says, I've warned you. And her eyes become very cloudy and white. And she yells and like waves her tongue back and forth as it's like a battle call.
Yeah.
And then the two cops shoot each other. The baby cries and she says, shut up or I'll give you something to cry about. And she walks off into the mist.
You go, Marie.
Then we have Fiona talking to Misty about being the Supreme.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And yes, we have props today. Nice.
It's the intro back to the theater.
It's an introduction to it, Steve.
Yeah.
Yes. And she talks to her about being the Supreme and how you can have anything you want. And she proceeds to take her downstairs to meet an old friend who's dying to meet Misty. Oh, where did she go? I can't finish this.
I know. I can't do anything until she comes back in.
Okay, so I'll just say it and then we'll hopefully Di will be here. But then she turns around and we see it's the White Witch, Stevie Nicks.
It is her.
Misty flat passes out. As soon as Stevie says, you must be Misty. She's like, oh my God, you know my name, and just passes out.
Just passes out.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then she performs Rhiannon for the Coven. And she gives Misty her shawl at the end of it. Di, where are you?
I'm not
Where
sure.
are you, Di?
With the two security guards shot, addressed the murder house security guard. What's his face?
Ooh. Luke.
Yeah.
That's
Where
interesting.
did y'all get his name from? I still don't know where you got his name from.
It's that is his name.
His name throughout the season.
His name throughout the whole season.
Even what's his name? Douchebag guy we don't like. I can't even think of his name right now.
No. So that's all I am. I can't think of his name.
You just refused to accept it.
You guys can't ask me about Murder House. I'm stuck on Coven right now. Oh, and I am wearing my Seven Wonders shirt for everybody. Just waiting. They are all there.
All right. Let me do
Well,
this.
I don't know what Lady Di is. Try your phone, Diana. Sometimes the phone works better. Hello?
I just sent her a message. We'll find out.
Tell her to try her phone. Okay, moving along.
What we'll do, I'll move along, and when she comes back, we'll let her talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it again.
Then we see someone going to the hospital. I just pointed this out because I thought it was funny. Just not really WTF, but kind of. This is when Nan and Zoe went to the hospital to visit Luke. And Nan brings him a teddy bear, and a balloon. And it's a helium-filled latex balloon. You can't bring latex balloons to the hospital, people. Don't do it.
When did they put that in there? No. Isn't that a fairly recent rule?
That's been a while. That's just something they didn't think about. They're like, here's this little present to bring. I mean, but I just wanted to point it out, a little thing. Oh, her internet went out.
Weird anyway.
Her internet went out. Yeah, well,
yeah, use your phone.
I'm trying to put her back in, but it's hold on.
What is the matter with you?
And then so then we hear who was it? Oh, Cordelia is talking with someone. And this is when we find out we find out that Hank Fox, his real name is Henry Renard.
Yes.
Henry is Hank is a nickname, a short name for Henry, and Renard is French for Fox.
Yes.
So just to point that out. So Marie explains to Fiona how she gained immortality by selling her soul to Papa Legba. and she must give up her, and she explains how she must give up her own child to him because he wants his innocent soul.
Yeah.
So then we see Madison taking Misty, and she takes her out to the graveyard to show her that she's just as powerful as her.
There we go.
Well, I'm on my phone now.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. I'm sitting next to the router, and it's got full bars, so I don't know what's up with that.
Well, we went ahead and we kept going, but
of course.
But now we're going to go back. So you
I said when you came back, I wanted you to be able to talk about the moment for me. So go ahead.
When Misty takes Fiona downstairs. Fiona takes Misty downstairs. Yeah, so she says to her, I have a friend of mine I was talking about you, and she said you simply must meet her. So you watch them go downstairs, and you see the back silhouette of a woman, and we already know this episode is called The Wonderful Mystical Stevie Nicks. And the look on her face when she turns around, Lily Rabe, she just looked at her, and Stevie's like, hi, I'm Stevie. And she just fucking drops to the ground. It's like, what would happen if you guys saw your hero?
At her, she said, you must be Misty. And it's just like, oh my God, you know my name.
That's right. And then she's like, I'm Stevie. And then she puts her hands out, she faints, and Fiona looks at Stevie and says, you owe me $5.
Yep.
She said, I told you she would do that.
I'm on my phone, so I can't even see you guys hardly. It's really small.
No,
I don't know what's up with my computer. Well, I'm sitting next to my router. I couldn't be any closer if I needed to be.
Well,
who's keeping up with that?
I'm going to restart. I mean, I did start it already. I'll do it again.
Yeah.
It had said I had no internet, which is weird. Anyway, go ahead because we have a bit to go. Thank you very much. That's very sweet. Just so you know, too, if I have to just watch one episode of American Horror Story ever from any season, it is this episode. It is just for the picking out factor.
That's an interesting question.
Yes. That was the last one.
Oh yeah, that has to be on our favorite sayings. I heard it starts with a tingle in the cooch.
Okay, so where are we? Okay, so I'll just start this one over. Madison takes Misty out to the graveyard to show her that she's just as powerful as she is. She tells her, she basically messes with her mind and tells her that, you know, they're all just challenging you. They all don't believe you can do it. You don't need them. So she tells her to lose the shawl, to drop it into a casket because they've frozen the undertakers who are putting the casket away.
Yeah, because she's trying to tell her that this comes with a price. And she's like, I can't believe that the Supreme and Stevie Nicks would need my help. And then she looked at her and said, players only love you when they're playing.
Yeah.
Which
and
you
she
don't expect Madison to know the lyrics to a Fleetwood Mac song.
Yeah.
And that just set up for what was going to happen.
Yes. Well, this year has the best one-liners. This season has the best one-liners.
Because then Misty almost drops the shawl. She starts to, but then it's like she really thinks hard about it. And she's almost like in tears, and she stops and holds it close to her. And Madison hits her over the head with a brick that was laying on the ground. And and she knocked her out. She steals her shawl, and then she closes the casket and unfreezes the undertakers to take the casket, and then they proceed to bury it and, you know, brick it up. That's why the bricks are out there. So yeah. So Nan, like I was saying, Nan and Zoe went to the hospital to visit Luke. This is when they found out Luke died. So they end up going to his house to see his mother, and they're talking about how they want to get information to find out where his body is so they can bring it back. So they say, you know, don't say anything to leading or anything, you know, let's be nice about this. We just want to know where his body is. So that's
So
when
bad.
they ask, and Nan finds out that Joan had Luke cremated. She puts the ashes on the counter. So basically Nan right then and there, she slams her hands on the counter, stands up and says, "You bitch." And then, yada yada. And then what she does is she uses her powers to then make Joan drink a bottle of bleach, and while telling her, "You have to be cleansed.
There we go.
Have to be cleansed."
Yep.
So you're like, yes. And the interesting thing too is here, now you see everyone has killed someone. All of the women who may be the supreme at this point have all killed someone. We saw Queenie do it under the bridge. We saw Zoe kill Spalding, which was something we were like, what the fuck? Because you saw that drive in them coming out. That they're like, so I mean, their powers are getting
was the last one you thought. Well, Nan was the last one that you would have thought would have done something.
So when you're like, fuck, it's on.
Well, and even Misty.
No, Nan never did anything to anyone. She didn't use her except for when she tried to get Madison to put out a cigarette in her vagina.
Yeah. Okay, so then Fiona tries to sell her soul to Papa Legba after Marie had told her about how she sold her soul to Legba and everything. But he's ready to make the deal and everything. They're sitting down doing cocaine together, happy as could be. And then she says, well, seal it. So he comes up to her to kiss her, and I'm assuming take her breath, because that's generally what they do to take the soul, the breath. And he stops and he pulls back and he looks at her. He says, no deal. And he tells her she has no soul. He says, you can't sell what you don't have.
They never talk about.
Yeah.
Well, you figure just the way she lives her life. She's soulless. She's
right.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. They never talked about it. They just
with her compassion, even in the most fucked up way that she does, like to that patient, that woman with the dying baby, she cares enough about Cordelia to want to express that into the world. So there is some sort of compassion there.
But Papa Legba asks her questions. Would you cripple your daughter? She's like, yes. Would you kill your best friend? She said, yes. Every once in a while she gets it in her, and she was all fucked up when she was in the hospital, and she's she's the way that she's soulless. I mean, he's like, you ain't got one. I mean, we just know. I mean, we know. Yeah, okay. No wonder she doesn't. We know. We get it.
So then, Fiona is talking to the Axeman, and she tells him, "I have no soul. I'll just kill them all." Right then and there.
Yep.
So then Marie and Fiona decide that Nan's dangerous because of her power, because they both have secrets and they're both hiding things. They're both killing people. They're both doing things they shouldn't be doing. And Nan kind of called them out on it. She called her out when she saw that she had the baby in the closet, is when Nan called her out.
And she's like, you couldn't get into that closet. She's like, oh, you're the clairvoyant.
Right. And that's when they're both like, oh, shit. And Fiona comes in. They argue. She tells Nan, give her the baby back. And that's when they start talking. They decide she's dangerous. And they decide they have to kill her. And they decide that 2 birds, 1 stone. They need to kill her, and they need a soul for Papa.
Yep.
So they drown her in the bathtub, and Papa shows up, and Papa tells them, this isn't what I asked for. This isn't our deal. And they say, come on, cut us a break. They said he said innocent soul. They said, well, mostly she just killed the neighbor lady, but mostly innocent.
But the bitch had it coming.
The bitch had it coming.
Yeah. So then Papa takes Nan's soul and they leave together. And she tells him anywhere is better than here, is what she says to Papa when she leaves with him.
Yep.
Yeah, because Nan was always saying how she'd be a nice supreme and she'd do good for people. And so you just kind of get a little mad. I mean, it's making it really easy for you not to want Fiona to live at this point. She's doing these horrific things. It's a total setup. And I buy that she's bad now, unlike other shows, Game of Thrones, where you didn't really see anybody become evil.
Right. So I'm going to point out one thing. I have one more moment from this episode, and then we'll get into 11, but we still have 11, 12, and 13, and we're at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And this is the shortest episode when it came for moments was 10. So I'm just letting you guys know. I'm not pressuring, pushing anybody. I just know I don't want to keep everybody longer than they planned. So the last moment we get is then we get one last Stevie performance. Just beautiful, gorgeous performance
for Fiona.
Yeah. Just a single little, one person performance, your own little thing.
Yep.
And then we get to episode 11, which is Protect the Coven. We open in, I couldn't remember, and at that point I didn't want to rewind. It's 1838 or 1830.
I think it's 1830.
I think it's 1830.
Okay. I think so too. I couldn't remember if it was an 8 or a 0. So either way, we're in the 1830s. And we see Delphine with her daughter, and they have just come over from Paris.
And this was written by Jennifer Salt and directed by Bradley.
Right, which as soon as you see that, this is going to be a great episode with a lot of it. So we see Delphine with her daughter, and they've just moved to New Orleans from Paris. And she's bitching about it, complaining. She doesn't want to be there. She doesn't like this. She's used to high society, all this stuff. And then they have to get a chicken and cook their own dinner because the help isn't there. So she has her daughter chase around and grab the chicken, brings it back, and then she hands her the cleaver. Her daughter won't do it. So she gives her the cleaver, and she's like, I'll do it then. And she hesitates. And even her daughter says, oh, you can't do it. And she's taunting her. So she just chops the head off the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
But then she touches the blood from the neck as it's bleeding out, and she smiles.
Yeah.
And you can see the wheels turning in her head. Now, this is to point out, this is the first time Delphine has now got like a taste for blood, so to speak.
Bloodlust. That's where the bloodlust started.
This is where it started, exactly. Because she was saying she needed a hobby and she needed something to fill her time and, things like that. So then we're still in that same time period, but Delphine then goes up to the attic because, like I said, they're just moving in. So they're moving boxes and stuff around. They're, bringing all their stuff in that they've had shipped over. And Delphine finds a slave who's been hurt bad while stacking boxes. He's broken his leg, and his bones actually kind of protruding through the leg a little bit. Yeah. And he's just kind of oozing blood out. I mean, he hit an artery or something, and he's about to die.
Yeah, he was stacking the boxes up, and he was alone, and he hurt himself.
Right, and they fell on him. And these are big, heavy wooden crates. These aren't like our cardboard boxes we have now, obviously. So, but she touches the blood from his leg because she says, well, let's get that, taken care of for you. She touches his leg. She says, let me look at it. And then she hands him a rag to wrap it up tight. She says, we don't want to lose any of that blood. And right then you're like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. Because she didn't say it as if, oh, we don't want you losing blood. She said it, we don't want you to lose any of that blood. Just the way she said it.
Just the way she said it, yeah.
So then she hits him over the head and ties him up. She hits him over the head, knocks him out, and ties him up. And then she tortures him, basically bleeding him dry, just cutting him everywhere from left to right. And she says she's covered in blood, and we see another Kathy Bates covered in bloodshot, and she says, I think I'm going to like it here. After she's been complaining and bitching in the beginning of the scene. So then we go back to current times. And Delphine is the maid, and she's, cleaning up after them and doing stuff for them again. And Madison doesn't flush the toilet after taking a shit.
Yep.
And she tells Delphine tells her, why don't you flush it? And she says, why don't you flush my shit, bitch? And so Delphine looks at it. She looks, actually, instead of just reaching over flushing it, looks into the bowl, and we see this nasty brown color in the
soup.
And then
and the smile.
And then she serves. They don't show us the actual brown in the toilet. They start to show us the toilet, Then we come up from the camera shot and we see it's a bowl of soup that the ladies are eating. It's a
Myrtle's eating, and we're like,
Myrtle, and she's giving her compliments and she's calling out every spice that's in it. And I'm like, oh my god,
and this and that, and the thing is, you hear Kathy Bates' voice. You hear her voice in her head narrating her story. How when I was a little kid, I used to take animals and cut the limbs off of them and see what could happen to them. And she's when she's cleaning up after the girls, she's like,
she's narrating, talking about how she shouldn't have to be cleaning up after people. Because
I love where she goes, and I take their sex stained undergarments, and she's just holding up like a thong like this. You're just kind of,
yeah.
Just the way that she says it, she basically is letting the world know she has no life. All she does is care about people, and that's why she gets creative with the poo.
So then after that, we see everyone's in the kitchen and they're cooking and doing things, and the gardener comes in and he's hurt himself and he says, I'm sorry, and he's like dripping blood through the house. Terrible. First of all, like, why don't you hold it on your shirt or something? You're gonna come drip through these ladies' house. But then he says, I'm sorry, ma'am, blah blah blah, I hurt myself. And Delphine basically says, I'll take care of this. And right then we're like, uh-oh, because we're supposed to think she changed at this point, because this is after she lost her head and she had to watch Roots and all of this stuff, so we think she's semi-changing, but we see it in her. And then so she takes the gardener up to Spalding's room because she assumes Spalding doesn't live there or he's run off. And she ties him up and she starts by cutting off his toe.
Yeah.
Misery pack. Annie Wilkes style.
She starts by singing the Little Piggy song, and then she cuts off.
Is that another kind of American Horror Story thing? There's always a pig involved with something.
That could be too. Well, in Muslim cultures, pigs are seen as a very dirty, negative, almost evil. Like, they're not. I don't want to say they're evil in their culture, but I mean,
not
they're
just
very
Muslim. Jew. I mean, kosher. You're kosher. There's other Bible that you can only eat an animal that has a hooven. They have little their claws, their hooves are not completely circular. I have to go back.
Well, and they're one of the only animals that eats its own cut. So they're seen as unclean.
There's that. Thank you, Milla. Put Debbie's thing up, because this is exactly what she says, and it's like another great Myrtle moment right here.
Mulligatawny soup.
Yeah. Bravo, Delphine. Bravo. And she was just
gross.
Oh wait, here you go.
And then someone else said, "He's so good with the wine," and you're just going in deep. Like I died from the transition into the bowl.
Here, Debbie, for you. I forgot to show it when she was saying bravo.
Bravo.
Okay, but then so then Delphine continues to torture the gardener, and we see that she's a bloody mess. And then we see that she's disemboweled him. Because then they pan down and we see he's completely disemboweled. His guts are just all hanging out. Oh, it was I love the effects on the show. The effects team is amazing on this show, you guys.
It's so Annie Wilkes.
But then Spalding pops in.
Yeah.
And he tells her that he admires her art, because she's like, oh, this isn't what it looks like, and I thought you'd run off. And he says, no, I admire your art. And right then she's like, oh, okay. And
she doesn't know. She's like, they killed me.
Right.
He told her that the bitches killed me.
Spalding cuts down the guy, and he helps her clean up the mess, because she goes, well, I guess I'll have to clean this up too, because she's talking about cleaning up after everybody in the house. And then he helps her clean it up. I saved this one just for you today, Debbie. Then we then we see Cordelia crying as she's preparing some kind of mixture. She's in the garden house. And then she proceeds to rub it all around her eyes. She holds up the shears. Blah, right up to her face.
And you're screaming at the TV. Don't do it.
Every time you're screaming.
Don't do it.
And she's breathing really heavy. And she's shaking. She's shaking like really hard. And then she just stabs herself in the eye.
Ah,
And
Not
then
only
she
once, but then she does it to the other.
yeah, she screams really loud, and then she pulls it out and she stabs
Yeah.
the other one and she screams. Blood's
Oh.
just flying everywhere.
shears, with gardening shears.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
She wanted
Wait.
the second sight.
we know why she did it, but the way that she went about it was pretty gruesome. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you do? Get a knitting needle? I mean, she's in the back. She's in the garden. I guess the stuff was probably trying to numb herself.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
She wanted the second sight back. That was the reason she did it. But
Yeah, because she had to find out where.
Coven.
She couldn't
For the
find out.
Coven.
Nobody knew what happened to Misty.
Nobody knew where Misty was. She wanted to know what was going on with Fiona, what was happening, what Fiona was plotting and planning.
uh-huh.
And
She
the
wanted to know
interesting-
that their enemies were coming because at this point they had people already shoot at them and everything else. And so
And they went
then
to, and when they go to the funeral, Nan's funeral, who's the only one who could hear Misty inside the box, Nan's the one who's dead.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're like, sorry, go ahead. I thought that was kind of ironic.
So Delphine goes up to Spaulding's room and he's up there and she tells him she got what he asked for. She paid a king's ransom for it too. Spaulding opens the box as if he's about to have an orgasm, you guys. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, overly, I mean, seriously, like it was almost orgasmic for him. And then we see him hold up a brand new doll. And it's the dream baby. And he tells her all about this authentic and he wants
In like
to
the
make sure
1800s.
yeah, it's really old and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. He then tells Delphine that he has the potion to render Marie mortal so that Delphine can kill her. And then he gives a basket, takes the napkin off and gives her the all-powerful Benadryl.
Mhm. She's like, Benadryl.
You're laughing. You're
Mystic
laughing
power.
so hard. Oh my God. So then we get
this has laughs and sad.
well, I like how they mix it up too, because then that way it's not keeping you off, on one side or the other. You're not feeling like, oh, I don't want to watch this anymore. It's too sad. Or, oh, now it's getting too funny. It's not serious anymore. So it was a good balance. But then we go to what?
They take you back and forth between the sad and the funny.
Yeah.
So that's what you're going.
And it's refreshing.
It makes it easier. It's an easy watch.
Mhm.
Right.
Somebody's sticking shit in your eyeballs.
Ugh.
I can watch somebody else stab.
We got
I can
something
watch somebody
funny
else
for
stab somebody in the eyeball a million times before I can watch somebody do it to themselves once. It's the self-mutilation that's just God.
Yeah, it's creepy.
So then we get to the meeting with the witch hunters. The witch hunters show up to the meeting first. Then Marie and Fiona walk in. They begin to talk about 100-year truce, and basically the witch hunters are begging them, stop this, we'll give you what you want, but
They wreck their company.
on their terms, not on the witch's terms. So then we see Marie and Fiona ask for drinks from the waiter. And then after that, we see that the waiter's actually the Axeman, pretending to be the waiter so that he could catch them all by surprise. And then he begins to axe each man one by one as Fiona uses her powers to take away their guns. And one was about to shoot Fiona when he sliced off his hand that, holding the gun that he was going to shoot with, sliced off his hand. The Axeman then picks up this hand, okay, not the gun, but picks up the hand and shoots the other guy with it because his axe is stuck in the other guy's back.
So they can't get it out.
Right. And he's trying to do it quick, obviously. But but he picks up the hand and he shoots the other man with it. There was 2 men still alive, or 3 men, and then he shot the other 2. And then Mr. Renard is the only one left alive. He grabs a drink over by the bar, and then he sits down in Fiona's seat. They're talking, and they're basically saying, this is the end of you, blah, blah, blah. He knows he's about to die. He's like, whatever. And he basically says, fuck you, witch bitch. And then the Axeman gives Fiona the axe, and she chops Renard right in the neck, and blood just starts gushing out. Marie then uses her cell phone to take pictures, which I didn't remember from last time. I mean, I'm sure I saw it. I just didn't remember it. But Marie's taking pictures, and I'm sure it's for proof or whatever. But I don't know who she needs to prove it to at this point. So,
Maybe because she thought it was such a great art. She and Fiona together have this amazing work of art.
Right after that, we see the scene of them having a drink together. Having a drink and saying, this is the start of a beautiful friendship. And we see that they're not just enemies working together. Now they are becoming friends and allies.
Because Marie thought she could never find anyone who was her equal. She didn't respect anybody else because she never met anybody else with power.
And that's what she had told her too.
We love it. We want more. We want to see the two of them more than we get to see them.
That back and forth pull of this power. So then Fiona leaves to go meet the Axeman to reward her man for a job well done, while Marie starts to head upstairs. Now, Marie's already looking a little tipsy, while she's walking and while they were talking and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Fiend brings the cart with the drinks into Marie's room for her, and Marie tells her, just leave it and go. And Delphine tells her, I'll leave when I'm ready, or I'll leave when I'm done. And she says, Marie tells her, you will do as I told you to. And then basically Marie just kind of lays back on the bed, and Delphine grabs the butcher knife, and she turns around and stabs her in the chest. And then she sits up, she screams, but she sits up and, is kind of like crying and whining while she's pulling it out. It hurt. And she pulls it out, and she tells Delphine how stupid she is because she's like, I'm immortal. And she goes, no, but just what? And she says, it takes the magic time to work. And then, and then what did she tell her? Oh, she told her, your fate is sealed. And then she threw the box of Benadryl, the packet of Benadryl at her. And Marie just grabs it and just laughs at Delphine.
Benadryl, this is good Benadryl.
This is antihistamine. And
antihistamine.
Marie, she's still holding the butcher knife. She chases Delphine out of the room, and they're right by the stairs, and Delphine's already made it halfway down the stairs. Marie's at the top of the stairs when she gets hit in the back of the head and falls down the stairs, and we see that it's Spaulding. And of course, he hit her with his pretty little baby doll. Had to be the baby doll.
Baby doll.
And then Spaulding tells Delphine to bury Marie so that she can't get out, because he explains to her, she's like, it didn't work, you lied to me. And he tells her, well, no, she's immortal, she can't die. Like, duh, you're stupid. He says, so you better bury her right now, and before she wakes up, and so that she can't get out. And he said, make it so she can't get out.
And so he told her that he preyed on her because she was the one who was most likely to help him get his baby.
Right, yeah.
Thought he could bamboozle her. She didn't know what Benadryl was. Hey,
it's the theme of the season. Everyone's using everyone for something. But then Spaulding goes up to his room, and he puts on his little bonnet and his gown, and he turns on his music. And we see then that he's holding Marie's stolen baby, the little baby she stole from the hospital that Marie was going to keep and have as her own now. That's why they gave Papa Leg Banana instead of the baby. And he sits in the rocking chair, rocking the baby, and tells him, it's okay, shh. And then very creepily, he smiles and looks at the baby, and he says, finally, a living doll. And he says, all my own. I'm like, what?
No.
What? No, this can't happen. And that's how the episode ends. Yeah, just like that. I'm like, great. Whoa. And we never get another word of this baby or anything. So I'm
forgotten.
No.
Completely forgotten.
Maybe that's the next Antichrist or the Archangel or something, right? Or the one that's going to save us all.
Maybe. It could be.
They left it open, so we don't know.
Yeah. There's always a possibility when you leave open endings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the episode 12, which is Go to Hell.
It was written by Jessica Scharzer and directed by Alfonso Gomez Rejon.
So he did 2 back-to-back.
He directed a lot this season, actually. Oh. What?
Children. Okay, so Queenie does dissension to find Marie because she wants to talk to Papa Legba. She wants to go down to hell and talk to Papa Legba because she wants to find out where Marie's at, what happened to Marie. Because you can't find Marie because we know that Delphine, knocked her out, or Spalding knocked her out, and Delphine was supposed to bury the body. That's all we know. So she's suddenly in her little chicken shack job that she worked at.
They always send her back to that chicken shack.
Sure do.
Yeah. And she sees Papa Legba, and they start talking, and she says, I've been looking for you. And he tells her, she's like, why am I here? Or why are you here? Why are we here? And he tells her that this is your personal hell. This is not my hell. This is your hell. What does she do? He tells her getting back is the hard part. And he tells her time's almost up because you only have so much time before sunrise. And she says, I've only been here 5 minutes. He says, time works a lot differently here. So then we see she makes it back, and Papa Legba's sitting in the chair next to her bed. And then they start talking, and they have a discussion about, he's like, oh, you made it back. I'm impressed. And they start having a talk about what's going on, where Marie is and what's happening. And he tells her about, he's telling her because we see a flash of Delphine torturing and dismembering Marie in the garden house.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And then, so then after that, regardless, they talk, they make a deal for Delphine's soul and Marie's soul. We now see that Delphine is in her old house in New Orleans. And she's running the tours. She's got a makeover, haircut, and everything. She's running the tours. Let's see.
Everything traces back to Salem, Debbie. The witch hunters, they started in their carpentry trade back in Salem on the East Coast. It that's kind of where all this kind of stems from, because it's witches.
That would
absolutely.
But because they moved there from Salem to New Orleans. So he would have. Well, no, I was just thinking if he was with them in Salem, or if he was already in New Orleans, their family, and then they got with them when they were moved to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. I don't know. They don't tell us, but either way,
you just get the idea they've been in servitude for a really long time, like a butler.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, she's doing the tours, and she looks different. She's got the makeover, and she's trying to change the history of the house. And she's telling it a little bit differently. She's making herself sound very good, like a very nice person, that these were all misunderstandings. She was a misunderstood woman ahead of her time.
Very much like the actress doing The Butcher. She's that kind of change. It's very
even the way she looked, and it was because it was Kathy's real hair at the time. She wears her hair short, so it was really interesting because that's exactly what it looked like, the look and everything too. Yeah. Let's see. And then we see that Delphine stabbed the tour guide and took her job. That's how she got the job. She took her up to the attic, telling her she left her pocketbook, and she's telling her, you're getting history all wrong. You're saying this all wrong. This isn't how it went. It was really.
I didn't kill 150. There was 63.
What, 61 or 63?
63. I kept a ledger.
Yes, I kept the ledger.
And the lady looks at her like, what the hell are you talking about?
And then she's touching stuff, and she says, ma'am, do not touch the displays. Do not touch them. She grabs the little, was like a pickaxe or a little pick hammer, and she hits her in the head with it. And you think she's dead. But then we see that she's not. We see that she's actually, Delphine's locked her in one of the cages, and she's got the hole in her head and everything. She's, laying there bleeding and probably, internally bleeding, but she's alive. And Queenie tells her, let that lady go. And she tells her why and blah, blah, blah. But then Queenie stabs Delphine and kills her. So now, because now she's mortal because of the deal she made with Papa Legba. So then we see Fiona. Huh?
They chop her up, don't they?
Yeah, they chop that. They do.
No,
not Delphine.
Who's Fred?
Marie.
Well, they put Marie all over the place,
Yeah,
and
Marie.
they try to get her, and Queenie's looking at Papa Legba like, you got to give Marie back. What good's it going to do for you if she's not alive? She can't bring you your tokens.
And that's the deal they made. And it was a technicality, and he's like, you're a crafty witch. So they make the deal. Then we see Fiona putting the necklace on Cordelia. We find out it's her grandmother's necklace that Fiona's had. So Fiona's now giving it to Cordelia because she knows that she's dying and everything. They've been talking about this. And this is when Cordelia finally has a new vision. After she's pierced her eyes, she's been trying to touch everybody and do everything, and nothing's worked. So she finally has a new vision, and it starts with Madison dead and bloody, with her head hanging over the railing and blood like all over the floor below her. She's up on the upper level, top of the stairs. Then we see Zoe dead, stabbed with the railing piece that was broken off where Madison's hanging from. And she's stabbed through into the wall. She's just hanging on the wall. We see Misty dead laying across the piano, the top of the piano. And we see Queenie dead on the floor with a piece of the railing, the same railing that was used, shoved down her throat. And then we see Cordelia dead on the floor with a bullet hole in her head. And right after that, they pan up and we see that Fiona is standing over Cordelia. So
she gets this horrific, what's going to happen to everyone.
Right. So we see this is Fiona doing this to everybody, which we know that Fiona's already told the Axemen she's just going to kill them all. And that includes her daughter. So,
yeah. Fuck it.
So now that Cordelia has her visions and everything, she's able to find where Misty's at. Her and Queenie go bust out Misty. Misty comes back and she beats the brakes off of Madison.
Now, this is where I find it's interesting because Queenie brought back Misty.
Yes.
But in the next episode, she can't do that again. That's why. That's a very.
Yes.
When they're doing the Seven Wonders, that's where Queenie.
I think that was to show that because Cordelia talks about how these witches, they all manifest multiple powers, especially in times of crisis. And they're obviously trying to find a new supreme because they're in a time of crisis. So I think maybe it was more like a one-off, not because she was stressed in the moment. It's just one of those things where she hasn't mastered it. So it works sometimes it doesn't.
And testing too, because people freeze up during testing.
Exactly. Let's see. So she beats the brakes off Madison. They're fighting and Madison's fighting back, but Misty was whooping her ass.
Brawling.
And she told her, she said, I don't need my powers to whoop your ass.
Whoop your ass.
and she gets so, just like when they broke Stevie, once you do piss her off, you just don't want to.
You don't want her wrath. Yeah.
That's again another stellar
moment. So nice. You don't want to piss her off. I mean, that's just, and it's like, you're just like, kick her ass. That girl, ugh. God.
And then in bust through the doors is the Axeman while they're fighting, and all the witches just kind of turn around and they all put their hands out like this, and they just all kind of throw him back, and he flies back. He comes in crazy, blood all over him with his axe, and he's like, you stupid! Like crazy.
Like, oh, hell no.
And they're like, oh hell no. And that's what they told him. They said, you came into the wrong house, dude. And he's just laying there kind of out of it. Like you can tell like he's out of it. Like, yeah, they threw him back, but there's something else going on with him. We don't find out till later what it was, but we see that like he looks like he's drugged or something. Like he's kind of out of it. Wait, didn't she said she could bring herself? Yeah, and that's what I was curious about because she told Fiona when she said, I'm not going to fall for your stuff that you're telling everybody else. She said, because when you kill me, I have a plan on how to bring myself back. And I thought that was weird because then that happened, unless her plan was not working because it wasn't Fiona and she planned for Fiona. But we see Misty singing when Cordelia hears her before she dies, or maybe she heard her spirit, but she heard her singing in the coffin. That's how Cordelia knew where she was. So I don't know why, if she was still able to breathe and talk, if she was awake and had woken up from being knocked out, why she wasn't able then to just bring herself back. But I guess maybe she would have, but she couldn't get out. But, why
every time she brings somebody back, she's got some kind of swamp mud. She brings everyone back with mud. And
Not
she's
everyone.
in the
Not
bayou.
everyone. Because the last time she didn't.
Because she said, get me some of that mud over there. So I don't know if that's just a symbolic thing and she needs to feel like she's putting it on someone.
Myrtle talked about the mud, and they talk about it in Apocalypse too, because that's where they hid out during the blast, was Misty Swamp in the mud. Because it's got protective properties and it's got healing properties and nutrients and stuff in it. And Myrtle talks about that and points that out.
Well, that's true too. I mean, she maybe Cordelia did it unwittingly, and Queenie thought she did it because she was doing the whole breathing the life into everything. I caught that this time. I didn't catch it the couple first times I watched it, that when they're going to do the 7 wonders, that Queenie can't do what she did already.
Yeah.
Technically.
So Cordelia's still blind at this point. She goes over and touches the blood, and touches that by the Axeman, and she tells everyone she has the vision, and she tells him it's Fiona's blood. And then we see the Axeman brutally axe Fiona over and over and over in the back in his apartment, just nonstop, over and over. I mean, brutal death. Then Madison grabs the axe, because they say, they're all like, oh, I'll take care of this asshole. Kyle takes him. He's like, he said, I'm the Coven guard dog. I'll handle it. And he pulls him into the room, and Madison goes, no, I'll handle it. And she takes the axe and she slams it into his side, cutting him in the side. And then they all grab knives from the kitchen and they just begin stabbing him over and over and over again.
Just like they did.
Just like they did the first time. Yeah.
The first time in the 20s, or 1919.
The witches did when they killed him the first time. But it's also very much mirrored with the Richard Ramirez scene in 1984.
Yep.
Well, he does a lot of those when he's up top and lots of people are getting
the brutality.
You see a lot of similarities and different styles.
But so then they just, they start stabbing the shit out of him and everything over and over again. And then we see Delphine put into a cage in her torture attic, and she's back in her period clothing. She has her darker, longer hair still curled up some. And we see, she's thrown in one of these cages that's in her torture attic in the 1800s. And we're like, okay, so is this a flashback now? And then we see her daughter in the cage beside her, and she's crying to her daughter. And we're like, oh, wait, what's going on here? And then we see Marie is there, and she begins to cut Delphine's neck slightly because the daughter's going, whining and crying. And the other two are all tortured and messed up too, in cages. And she drains the blood from her neck and puts it in a cup, takes it over to the daughter, who says she's thirsty. When Delphine said, she's so thirsty, give her something to drink, you animal. So she gives her Delphine's blood to drink, and she begins to drink it. And then let's see, Marie takes the hot poker to Delphine's daughter, as if she's going to torture her. And then she stops and she says, I don't want to do this. This isn't me. She wakes up. It's almost like she didn't realize where she was. So it's almost like when these people when they go to a hell, they don't realize that's what's happening. They think that this is just real life and they're doing it. Like they do it normally until all of a sudden something clicks and they're like, wait, this isn't normal. Where am I? What's going on? Because we see it with each person when that happens. So then she says she doesn't want to torture Delphine's daughter. Papa Legba comes in and he says, no, you will do this because this is what my bidding is. And your soul does my bidding. And so she goes over and she jams it into Delphine's daughter's face. We don't know. We don't see it, but we hear it because she had told Delphine, I can either jam it down her throat or jam it up her backside. You choose. And then it ends like that. As for moments.
And that's their end of their story. They end up being stuck in a loop.
And we realize they're both in hell.
That loop is terrible too. Ugh.
And I wish I would have wrote the line down that Papa Legba says to Lalaurie, because when he tells her, you're soulless, cold, like, what does he tell her? No fashion having, bitch, and just all this stuff. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God, that was great. But then we get to episode 13, which is the 7 Wonders. 7 Wonders.
And the beginning is so cool because it's just like an MTV music video in the beginning. And the door opens and Stevie walks in in all of her glory. And they start to play the 7 Wonders. I got to see the little black cat that was in the video.
Debbie, did you read it? Debbie is so fucking hilarious.
The torture attic, which implies she has another attic where she stores her Christmas stickers.
maybe she does. Maybe she stores them in a shed. Who knows? It was the 1800s. I don't live in New Orleans. You tell me how the houses are down there. Do you have multiple attics? But yes, as Di was saying, we open with Stevie walking through the academy singing the 7 Wonders. And looks very much a lot like the videos, the music videos.
This one's cool because it shows each witch. Like it pans and you see what everyone's doing to prepare.
To go and take the test.
I mean, I thought I thought that was almost better than the whole rest of the episode. Most of it, I loved how that beginning just kind of set everything up.
I loved the lighting and everything. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Heavenly body coming in.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it looked like, an angel.
And then after everyone, towards the end of the song, everyone comes down the stairs.
Yeah,
and then
so cool.
We see that they all go have a dinner together, and we see everyone sitting at the table for a Last Supper. And if you look at it, it's very much shot,
like
to
the
look
Last
like
Supper.
the Last Supper.
Oh yeah.
And what did she give them? She's
see, Debbie has 2 addicts. Bam.
Oh, okay.
Debbie, is one of yours a torture addict?
Mine is funny. Addicts are scary.
We don't have a basement or an attic.
I have an attic.
Oh.
I mean, I have an attic. It's not. You can't walk in it. It's like just from the roof.
My attic is the second floor. They converted the attic in space into.
And the floors here only have like 3 feet. They're just to the top of the roof.
It's not a real attic. It's a crawl space kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I mean, like a regular proper attic you can walk into.
Too.
But
so I didn't write down everything about the 7 Wonders because they weren't WTF moments. Some of them are a little even boring. But during the 7 Wonders test, Madison makes Kyle kiss her and then lick her boot. And then Madison makes Kyle choke Zoe. So they're playing this back and forth, like my man, jealousy thing. And then the next test is Dissension. And the girls must go to their personal hells and they must get back in time before the timer runs out. And we see it's this huge timer, which I would love to have one of these. This would be so cool. I really liked that.
It looks like the Days of Our Lives is standing. Remember that old soap opera?
You're right. It really did. It was big like that and brown and everything. So then we see all the girls go through their stuff. None of it's really that big a deal, whatever. But we see Misty. And we see her in a science classroom, and another student calls the teacher over. And he tells her, she did it again. And he says, she brought the frog back to life. And he tells the boy, no, she didn't. She's brought a live one and she's trying to trick you. And he says, if you won't dissect a dead frog, you'll dissect a live frog. And he grabs her hand and grabs the scalpel and he forces her to cut the frog open alive. Because she had told him right before that, please, I don't want to kill a living thing. I don't want to kill a living thing. And she's crying. I mean, just horribly. You see the distraught on this woman. Like, you feel for her. Yeah. And she's crying and she's screaming no as he's making her cut into this. And then the whole class just laughs at her, which, again, to my theory, if we remember from Asylum, we saw that Mary Eunice was made fun of when everybody at the pool party laughed at her and made fun of her. Just saying. We'll talk about that later. But then the whole class, they laughed at her. And then she brings the frog back to life. And then it literally repeats. And it loops over and over and over. And that's her personal hell. She brings the frog back. The kid calls the teacher. He makes her cut it. She brings it back. And then she has to keep doing this over and over again.
It's terror every single time. It's just utter torment for her.
Yes. And I want to point out how well in Apocalypse, when they mirrored that scene, they redid it.
I want to use
that scene and that character. I went through and watched, and you can tell a little bit on Kingery, and you can tell a little bit on Misty because they've aged. It's been years, but they did such a great job of making everything look the same and everything. It was awesome.
Well,
but
was the kid? The kid was significantly aged.
Yeah. Kingery,
yeah.
It was Kingery. He just aged a little bit. He wasn't that much. They made him didn't look like
demons. They're not human, so they're not going to age.
Yeah, but I mean the kid actor.
We're saying the actor for when they recreated the scene of her hell for Apocalypse when they brought her back.
Exactly the same. It was like
it almost looks like it was like they took footage from Coven and used it. But if you look, you can see even that the HD is much better and it's clear because obviously over time. Okay, so then we're back at the academy and everyone's sitting around Misty, and Cordelia is holding Misty and she's chanting a spell to try and save her and to bring her back. And Myrtle tells her, you can't do anything. She has to bring herself back. She has to do it. And then we see the sand timer run out. Myrtle says, time's up. And then Misty just literally turns to a pile of ash in Cordelia's arms as Cordelia just cries out and bawls.
And we're all like, oh.
Oh my God, Misty.
And it's interesting because when Madison comes back, that when the other girls come back, they just say what their hell was. We already know what Queenie's hell was, and she's already been there and back three times. She's the first one back. She knows how to get out. But then Zoe's is her and Kyle breaking up over and over again. But Madison's is not what it was in Apocalypse. Madison said
that too. I noticed that. She said
I was doing a television version of The Sound of Music, and I wasn't even the lead. I was Liesel.
Yeah.
And they kept performing it over and over again.
In Apocalypse, she's in retail hell.
And in Apocalypse, she works at Sears in the fucking return department. So
I imagine that could change.
Because that would have been her hell either way. I know that's weird.
It could change, though.
Carry that over.
Yes, R.I.P.
She could have been lying.
I forgot
she could have been lying about her hell.
We're like, Stevie, go get. We're all like, Stevie, go get her.
Yeah, because maybe she didn't want to talk about the retail thing. Maybe she made the Liesel thing up to sound more glamorous, even in her
the look on her face. She was like, I was Liesel. I wasn't even the lead. She was just like disgusted.
But she could be out improvising right there at the moment.
I think she barely got back. She came back.
It's not that big a deal. We got to move on.
Just notice like things you actually notice.
Yeah.
3 more pages. They then begin transmutation, all playing tag. Zoe does it again in the front yard when they're all doing it, tagging each other and doing it and zipping around the yard in the house. And she ends up impaled on the iron gate spikes on the fence to the academy.
Yeah.
They bring Zoe into the garden house and they lay her down. Queenie tries, this is what you were talking about. Queenie tries to perform Vitalum Vitalis, but can't do it. And then Madison refuses to bring Zoe back. So instead, they tell her, they say, oh, so you're not going to do it because you don't think you can. And so she takes a fly, kills it with her hands, and then breathes life into it and brings it back to life. And she shows that she could do it. But she refuses to do it.
Who else could have brought her back? We know Misty could have brought her back. She just died.
Right.
Just like Nan would have known Misty was in too. Like the one that could help, they're always gone when the time comes. Which is very well, it's very well done.
So then after that, because Madison's being a little bitch about it, and obviously Queenie has now failed because Queenie couldn't perform Vitalum Vitalis. So this is where Cordelia decides that she's going to take the 7 wonders. And
after Myrtle says, you've always had it in you.
Right. She's given her all of this.
She's definitely given her the Rocky talk, I call it. You're there. You were always in your mother's shadow. You have more. Her speech was, everything that comes out of this woman's mouth, you guys know, I think is like fabulous. I think we all can agree, no matter what episode, no matter what it is, anything Frances Conroy does is amazing. And she's like your biggest supporter, and you don't know what you're capable of, my girl. And then all of a sudden you see this aha moment, even on her, and her eyes are all fucked up, and they're, she's got the scars on them, and you can almost see it from the inside. She's like, yeah, why not me? and all of a sudden it just takes a little flip. It takes a flip. There's a lot in this episode.
Yes, there is. There is. So
See,
then
when we first watched this, how many of you guys were like shocked at this? Because I thought it was gonna be Cordelia all along, like from the beginning. So I don't know why it played like this big shock.
I wasn't
I
shocked.
don't know what I thought from the beginning.
Yeah.
Well,
I
okay,
had
so I
Cordelia from
never,
day one.
again, this is my virgin season. They just set Cordelia up to be such a whiny person, and so
She was supposed to seem weak and meager, and like you said, in her mother's shadow, like she will never live up
and she
to
was
her mother.
always crybaby.
And that's why
She was
she's the perfect
always
candidate.
whining, but she had cause to whine because Fiona was that bad of a mother.
Yes.
But that's
Like,
why it
I
makes
don't
her
think that she was
perfect.
overly crying. I think that she was being tortured by this woman.
Yes.
And so when that's when I thought, okay, she's going to be the Supreme. It makes sense for her to be the Supreme. At one point we all thought it was, I think that's what he wanted to do. At one point we did think it was Madison. She got her heart back and she was going to be like Cordelia. And you're like, no, we don't want it to be that. It's almost to me like it was like, first it was Zoe, and then it was this, and then it was that. And then
I just missed anybody that they presented to us that it was going to be. Yeah, I guess that's me watching too many of these mystery things. I was like, oh well, they're saying that is not.
No, that's usually a general good way to figure shit out when you're watching it. But then so then the next moment that we have is after Cordelia had done the 7 wonders, they had to do divination. Thank you. And Madison can't do it. But the irony is the fact that we see she says when it's Madison's turn, she says the vase on the fireplace. Nope, nothing there. Then she says, oh, I meant the piano. Oh, nope, nothing there. And that's when she's like, oh, screw this, blah, blah, blah. And she starts to do her rant. She goes over to the side table, grabs a cigarette, and uses the lighter. And that was what belonged to Mimi, or not Mimi DeLongpre, Annalie Layton.
Yeah, Annalie Layton.
That was the item that belonged to her. So then Madison's packing up her stuff in her room. She's just throwing shit around. She's mad. She's like, I'm out of here. Fuck you guys. I'm going back to Hollywood. I'm going to tell everybody about your little coven.
Call TMZ.
Calling TMZ. And then Kyle comes into the room and he says, you let her die. Like, he's mad. He says, you let her die. And he grabs her by the throat and he begins to choke her. She says she did it for them because she loves him. And he looks at her and he tells her, you're not that good an actress. And he chokes her to death and just leaves her on the bed.
Yep.
And then
like a Kyle Stein would.
Yes.
We're going to call him Kyle Stein instead of
and now we're going to go back and forth for a second, because then we jump from that to we see Cordelia trying Vitalin Vitalis on Zoe. Zoe wakes up and Cordelia passes out. Cordelia wakes up and we see her hair, she's like radiant health. Her hair is like beautiful and just slight wave. It's not completely straight and like flat anymore. It's got body to it. She looks
makeup on,
obviously. Her skin is glowing, just like. Then all the flowers and the branches in the room start to bloom and turn green.
So she's been reborn.
Right. Yep. And then we go back to in the room with Kyle and Madison, and we see a little doll hand.
It's so creepy.
Holding it, brushing Madison's hair, and then we see that it's Spalding, which we knew it was, but we see that it's Spalding. And he says, no one will find her once we bury the body.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And he says, who the hell are you? And I forgot, Kyle had never seen Spalding.
Yeah, he didn't know who he was because when he was.
And he told me that I'm the help. So then we go back and Cordelia goes on live television to announce that they are witches.
Come on.
Cordelia and Myrtle then begin to go over new recruits' files, and they decide to make Queenie and Zoe the council. Myrtle then tells Cordelia she must be burned at the stake for killing the previous council for their eyes for Cordelia. And she says,
Well, she did it for a little more than that, but she loved cutting them up.
Right.
And
But
this was problem number one with Apocalypse for me right
I
here.
would be a hypocrite. I don't want you to be a hypocrite. You're telling
this moment right here is what
we do and we don't do.
Because Myrtle should have never been back. They're really keeping this moment.
So then we see everyone walking to the quarry. They tie up and pour gas on Myrtle. She's in her beautiful blood red gown.
Valencia. The word that she screamed is what she's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they ask her last words, and she says,
Balenciaga, her
Balenciaga. And we then see her engulfed in flames. And we see everybody turn to walk and leave. They all look sad, obviously, but they knew it had to be done.
And the song, as they're walking up, they're playing Silver Stream. You can be, and it's just like you're just like, what? Why does this have to even happen? I mean, I guess it was the right thing, and Myrtle was trying to set Cordelia up for success.
Right.
Well, but I don't think anybody would have given a shit.
Myrtle wanted her to lead by example as well, too. And she knew that if he was willing to give her a break, it could be anybody or something. It might make her weak, and it could be something used against her.
Right.
She didn't want anything to ever hurt Cordelia. That was her mother, and she told her that.
Look at put Debbie's thing up there.
Balenciaga. Terrible.
There we go. Let's see. I haven't looked at. And then the girls are lined up around the block to come to the academy. There's just girls lined up around the block, around the whole academy. Cordelia walks into the other room. First, she tells Zoe and Queenie that she wants them on the council. They accept. And then she says, I'll be down in just a moment, because they're letting the new recruits in. And she walks into the other room, and we see Fiona sitting in a chair in a darkened hallway area. And we see Fiona. We get the flashback, and we see that Fiona and the Axeman made up, because Cordelia thought she was dead. So we see that the Fiona and the Axeman made a plan to let everyone think that he killed her. And we see Fiona spits in his drink and tells him to drink it. And he says, I'll take it from the spigot. And she spits in his mouth. And if we remember correctly from when she did this to the officers, this is to put a spell on him. This is to make him forget.
Yeah.
And this is why when he was right before he was killed by the witches, which she set up on purpose to happen, she knew they would do that. She told him that. But that's why he looked like he was in a daze, because he's just now waking up out of this
solution to her problem right there.
Right.
So
he's waking up out of this spell, like, where the hell am I? What's going on?
So the cycle thing was after this flashback, right? Is that how the time was supposed to go?
Well, she's not. Well, they have this talk, the two of them.
Yeah.
And she's not. And then
that's where we're at now.
Yeah,
because
I'm just saying that flashback to the cycle.
The Fiona, and then we see that, and then we Fiona's almost bald, and she's very sickly looking, and just she looks like she's on death's bed, which she is.
Yeah.
She's dying, and Cordelia tells her, you won't make it through the night, and she doesn't look like she will. Fiona tells her, you took my power the minute I gave birth to you. A woman becomes a mother. She can't help but see her mortality in that cherubic little face. Every time I looked at you, I saw my own death. You were a constant reminder of my worst fears.
So she's fucked up even to the bitter end.
And she tells her that.
Feel even worse.
And she tells her that. And she says, I was good sometimes. And
I was the best mother to you I ever could be.
Yeah.
Which is why some people shouldn't have children.
Yeah, they shouldn't, but at least she's truthful. At least she's insightful. Some people just deny it.
And yes, Debbie is right. The dress that she's wearing is a Carolina Herrera dress, but she says Balenciaga, which is the name of a fashion line. So it's just kind of weird that she did that, because the first time when they killed her, she talked about toads being boiled in a stew. She had a whole speech.
Yeah.
So they have this exchange, and she gives her a knife and asks Fiona to kill her right now and put her out of her misery, and she won't do it.
Yeah.
She gets up and she walks out of the room.
She's like, I ain't gonna do you that favor. Piss off.
Yeah, she offers her the dagger. Well, she offers her the dagger, and let's see, where are we? And she tells her, she says, kill me, please, put me out of my goddamn misery. And then they hug very tightly, and Fiona dies in Cordelia's arms.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't actually do anything to her, even though she wanted her to.
No, she had this whole long talk with her, and she clings to her. You know, you've been this divine creature for so long, you're finally having a mortal experience. It's fear, let it in, accept it, and you will be able to, you know, deal with this better. And she does, and then that's when she dies in her arms.
Well, and she said, I don't think we've ever hugged before.
Yes, Debbie.
Cordelia said that to Fiona, and you're just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Quote.
Constance quote that she said in a way.
So then Fiona wakes up, and she's looking healthier than she was before when we just saw her. She's looking like Fiona we found out she had cancer, right, at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And she's in the farmhouse with the Axeman, the one they talked about staying at and having a life at, and she made the deal with him to be.
His uncle or his grandfather has a by the lake, and I'll catch you catfish. And she's like, I don't eat catfish because they're bottom feeders. And can you imagine me, a farm wife? Are you fucking kidding me? There's no way.
That, yeah. But she pours a drink because she's like, where am I? And he's like, you do this every day. You wake up and you say, where am I? What's going on? And we fight. He's like, I'm so tired of it. And she's like, every day, how long have I been here? And he's like, time has no limits, or there's no time or here or something like that. And anyway, then she goes to pour a drink. She's like, oh my God. And she's freaking out. And he says, hey, if you want a stiff one, I got one for you over here. And he grabs his crack. And she walks over to him and slaps the shit out of him. She says, don't be so vulgar. And I'm thinking, this coming from Fiona? Okay. But he swung, oh man, he pulled his arm all the way back and just bam. And he knocked her across the room.
Whether dead, it don't matter.
And that's kind of surprised. I mean, yeah, it's like you kind of go, at first you go, he hit.
Well, it was like he hit his wall with her because he had put up with a lot. She, like we said, she straight laughed in his face and said, no, I'll never do that. She used him and told him she was using him. But then she told him she loved him. Like, he hit his wall, man. He's done with this bitch in the afterlife. And that's it. He's like, we're going to be here forever.
Catfish that she doesn't want to eat.
Right.
They didn't bring them back for the apocalypse.
So then he tells her she put herself here because she says, oh, this is Delia's doing. And he says, no, honey, you put yourself here. He said, we had a deal. And then I wrote this down for you guys. Naughty Pie.
She looks at the walls like, what is this? Naughty Pie.
Yeah. And then we see Papa Legba sitting off in the distance, just laughing at her because she goes over to him and he's just holding her and hugging her, and she's got her head on his shoulder like she's just giving up, but she's still like, why? Like she's mortified. And you see Papa Legba just laughing at her.
Yep. Yeah, he's in the other room in the kitchen just going, ha, 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 ha. That's your loop, babe. And
then our final moment is Cordelia opens up the doors to the academy to let all the other girls in. She introduces herself, and they say, what's a supreme? And Queenie says, you're looking at her. And we zoom, slow pan zoom, and we close on that, that famous Sarah Paulson smile.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends. That's how it ends.
And so it should have left.
Granddaddy's fishing camp in Covington, Louisiana. That's 18 minutes north of me. See, that's why Debbie knows this season line for line, because it hits home for her.
Well, yes, I mean, you guys know Mike doesn't watch. My husband's name is Mike, and he doesn't really binge watch with me. He rewatched all of Coven with me. He watched Hollywood.
My husband did too, and
I really think that no matter what you say about this season, because there's some hardcore people who are like, no, this and that. It brought in a whole new audience, Ryan Murphy, that would have never happened without this kind of a show.
Yeah, anytime you have a big genre change like that.
And then Freak Show. Because this one was so appealing to people because witches are hip. And I mean, I was drawn in by what I was watching another show on FX by the commercial. That's the only reason I just said, oh, let me just check this out.
It was advertised and it was played very almost like a kind of young adult thing until you got into it, but it had that ambience, it had that tone, that look to it. So it was very appealing to a lot of people.
I mean, I thought it looked like it was sexy and dark and creepy, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is like one of the vampire movies I like. Because when I see horror story, I do not get drawn to that. But then I saw Angela and I was like, I didn't know the cast until I started watching the show. I just saw the videos of the girls in black walking with their umbrellas, and I'm just like, oh wow. Huh?
I wish they'd do those promotional videos again and those promotional pictures and stuff, because they used to take a cast photo that was amazing. And
well,
they used to do those.
Well, the ones I saw didn't have any of the cast in it. It was like the ones they did for 1984, where there's all kinds of other people. And the one I saw didn't have Jessica Lange or anybody in it.
The three of them, Jessica Lange, Angela Bassett, and Kathy Bates, in that whole series of those videos where people are walking, they're on the stilts and they're doing all this stuff. At the very, very end of like the last one, they removed the mask and it's the three of them.
Yeah.
So Debbie says, Coven isn't the best, but it's undeniably my favorite.
But Freak Show
still pulls heartstrings. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about American Horror Story. It's got something for everyone, and there's different seasons, and different people like them for different reasons. And if you find things that you like, then you can relate to, which is why I mean, I didn't even watch Asylum until like last year, because it just Catholic school nuns, nope, not doing it. Because it was too creepy. Had I not watched this first, I would have never watched the other seasons.
See, I find it very interesting because this season kind of started the real big tone of the even and the odd tracks. And it's very real that Ryan Murphy has done these thematic, all the odd number seasons are, really more appealing, a little bit more light. Some of them are a little bit more campy. And then the even seasons are the real heavy, dark seasons.
Yeah, that's true. 2, 4, 6.
Yeah, and that's how you find people who are either on an odd track or they're on an even track, other favorites, because it's the tone, what they appeal to.
Yep, you're totally right.
But that's the end of the episode, guys.
We have brought you guys the most horrific WTF moments from Coven. All of them. We brought you all of them.
We did.
Yes, we did.
And Monday, we will start Freak Show with a different...
I got to do more research. I got to do research for Action Sunday and Freak Show.
Yeah, I know. But we will be doing Freak Show with a different theme. We won't be doing most horrific moments because all of Freak Show is most horrific moments or WTF. We would just be doing a play-by-play of the episode.
Like a highlights.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to do something a little different theme for you guys, and we will let you guys know about that.
They had good music in the first 2 seasons, but I think this season really took the music part
to the level,
just to a different level.
Yeah,
and in Freak Show, it carried on. I mean, when you listen to Elsa Mars sing "Hunky Dory" of all songs, I have for every single day next week I have a different Bowie shirt.
Well, I encourage people to watch those songs when they're performing in the circus. Watch them with subtitles. They're so poignant why those songs were chosen. I mean, they're dead on. They act as another character.
And I also, every single episode that, except for this one, this was the only episode of the only season that Jessica Lange doesn't sing. She sings. Did she? No. I guess she didn't sing in Murder House.
No. So half of her season.
But she likes. I mean, she's a good singer and she likes to sing. And so Ryan let her sing a lot.
Yeah.
So when I saw the first time in Asylum when she was singing.
She was the one that got behind and encouraged the Tootsie Broadway show.
Oh my God, Die. If you don't like to do that, watch the documentary The Keepers. It's the most heuristic imaginable thing. It's 100% Catholic priests and nuns. Everyone else to watch it. So good. Ooh, okay.
Is
Yeah.
that on Netflix
telling me not
or
to watch
Hulu? That's probably Netflix, right, Deb?
I mean, my dad was an altar boy, and in the parish that we used to go to in New York, a bunch of the priests got expelled or got excommunicated. Yeah, it's just the first 2 seasons for me just looked. Murder House. Murder House is like probably my third favorite season. So the fact that I could go back and watch it and love it was great. It was great. I mean, it's really not what's best and what's worst. It's just ones I like and ones that were okay
Right.
for me. I don't really, you want to rank it? I mean, Hotel and, Coven are both in between each other because they were easy. They were fun. There were sexy people. There was stuff that you can relate to. So maybe not a horror person. And that's Ryan's way of bringing in a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily see his stuff.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it where, oh, there's a new Ryan show on Hollywood. Oh, yeah, I'm going to check that out. There's a new one, Politician. Oh, yeah, I'm going to check that out. Not to mention what he did for Evan. But here's the other thing, too, is, though, when you were looking at Kyle Steen, didn't you kind of get Tate vibes? He's tortured and he's crying, and Zoe and Violet. And I was just like,
Yeah, I'm telling you, Tyson Evans' characters to me in 3 were basically identical from 1.
Yeah, a lot.
Like
Yeah,
he
they
started
are.
out good. He started out good and became bad. He wasn't bad and then tried to be good, but Tate's still bad.
Yeah.
But I mean that just his acting, and then when you go to not even so much Freak Show with him, when you go to his hotel, I mean, when you go to 5 for him, you see this range how he's changed.
Oh, I love his character. And that's the thing, too, I think about the 246 track. If you look at people's characters, their roles in the 246 or, the 358 or 357, like that 1357. It's just interesting. The characters, if the characters are similar, like each one plays.
Oh, wow. Debbie's mom was a nun.
Yep.
Ooh,
That explains a lot about Debbie.
hell no.
Yep.
Well, my dad was an altar boy, and actually he was thinking about becoming a priest, and then he went into the army. And when he came out, he wanted to be a police officer. So, I went to Catholic school like Deb my whole life. It's like something that it's just kind of like a whole nother. And actually, I had a great time. I'll be honest with you. We had a lot of young teachers, a lot of people who went to school there that came back. I mean, our teachers some of them were like 23 years old.
Wow.
Because you didn't have to have more college. You have to have less college to teach there or something. It was easier I don't know. A lot of them came back. And there are certain things that are so stereotypical. Like, anybody ever watch Kentucky Fried Movie?
Mm-hmm.
Catholic high school girls in trouble. That little vignette came out when I was in high school. So when I would meet a boy that was not in Catholic school, they'd all seen this stupid movie with the girls in the little dresses being slammed up against the shower doing guys are like, oh, you go to Catholic school? And I was like, what? And I didn't even know. And then someone on a date took me to see Kentucky Fried Movie. I'm like, what the fuck? It was funny as hell, but that explained a lot. Anyway, totally off topic.
All right,
Guys, so we have
one of the day.
a wand.
I told you I'd bring it. Ron's
Absolutely.
first wand that's broken, taped together.
I love that wand.
One caused a lot of problems.
And of course, it's got to be crooked,
Yeah, he's getting
it's
it taped together. Right?
That's the broken one.
Yep.
Well, we have brought you guys the most horrific and WTF moments of Coven overall. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we will see you guys back here tomorrow. And we will be covering RuPaul's Drag Race tomorrow.
Drag race.
Come one, come all. Have fun. Big or small.
Mm-hmm. Everybody have
Bye,
a great
guys.
rest.
Thank you guys so much. I think I got all there was not a lot of comments. I think we're good.
I think we got them all. All right, everybody, take care. Bye, guys.
Well,
No, we're not.
Still here.